Hi guys. In today's video podcast, I'm going to talk about Oracle Analytics Cloud AI Agent. OAC AI is a purpose-built conversational analytical feature that let business user asks planned English question about their enterprise data and get the instant answer without writing a SQL or building a report or waiting for it. Unlike a general chatbot, OAC Agent is scoped with specific business domain. It combines three components: a governed dataset that governed every answer in the real data. A governed dataset is a certified, business-ready data source where column names are meaningful, metrics are consistently defined, and the data has been reviewed and approved by a business stakeholder. A knowledge document that gives the agent your company's business rules and policies. And supplemental instructions that teach the agent your terminology, KPI definitions, and compliance thresholds. The result is an agent that does not just return numbers. It returns answers that are contextual, policy-aware, and immediately actionable. In this demo, I am showcasing the OAC AI agent using a realistic accounts payable scenario for a fictional manufacturing company called Nexus Industrial Group. This agent is built on a single payable transactional data set covering around 669 invoices across the year 2024, backed by a corporate AP policy and compliance manual as its knowledge document. I will ask the agent a series of real-world payable manager questions about spending anomalies, compliance violation, fraud signal, and policy rules, and we'll see how it responds using all the three components together. And you can see this is my agent, and on the left-hand side you can see my datasets, and in the middle you can see account payable policy manual, and then on top I have a supplementary instruction. So that's my agent. So my first question is, how many invoices were processed in financial year 2024, and what was the total spent? In the agent responded back, the number of the count for the invoice is 669, and the total amount is around 65 million, and all invoices are for the financial year 2024. Now let me ask a second question. My second question is, what was the total AP spent by the quarters in the financial year 2024, and which quarter has the highest spend? Show me your data in a table. I don't want to see the charts, so I just ask for the specific data format. So, as you can see that the response was in a tabular form. And in case I want to see the response in the chart, let's say I want to see the data in a donut chart, just change the donut, change the output to a donut, and wait for the response. So you can see it plot a chart for me. Let me ask my third question. Which vendor has the largest single invoice in the quarter 3? As per agent, Deloitte Consulting invoice in September 2024 is the largest single invoice and has a key compliance anomalies. So we will dig later about what and why we have compliance anomaly for this invoice. Meantime, let's continue with our next question. My next question is, who are the top 5 vendors by spent in financial year 2024? And show me data in a table. Here my expectations are to show me vendor name and total of invoice amount. And as you can see, agent just show me top 5 vendor and sum of all the invoices they have sent to us. Now I would like to see if we have any vendor tier. My sixth question is how many vendors tier we have. As per agent, there are 4 vendor tiers: strategic, preferred, approved, and 1 type. Before I go further, I would like to see how many vendors belongs to each tier. Now, next question is, I just want to see the list of the count of the vendors in each of the vendor tier, and I want to see data in tabular form. As you can see with this agent, I need not to write SQL or report to extract the data. Analyst in your team gonna love to have a tool like this. The next question is, show me all the invoices that are above 500,000 in financially at 2024 and confirm whether each has a CFO approval or not. Here I want to test compliance anomalies. Agent responded with a list of invoices, but that's what I was not looking for. Let me rephrase this question and ask again, but set some context about question. Show me all the invoices above 500,000. Print the invoice number, invoice amount, and approval status. I am clearly asking for what is amount and approval status on these big invoices. As you can see now, I got my answer. I was able to see the invoices which are above the 500,000. Please note in the previous answer, agent returned vendor name and sum total of invoice amount for each vendor, where sum total of invoice amount was more than $500,000. For example, AT&T has invoiced sum total around 1.4 million. But I was not interested in the sum of the invoice amount per vendor, but I was interested in the invoice where the amount is above 500,000. So here the system answer only these invoices above 500,000 and required the CFO approval. If the CFO approval required is yes and the approval is blank, always flag this as a critical compliance. As you can see, the above part is come from the dataset, but this additional insight is coming from the policy document. Is our policy document. So this is, as you can see, how well the agent has combined the data with the policy. Now, as you can see, out of 5 invoices above 500K, 4 invoices are approved by CFO, but 1 invoice with amount around 1.2 million is not approved, and that causing approval policy compliance issue. Agent has clearly interpreted approval status clearly and printed same in additional insights. If you recall in question number 3, when we have asked which vendor has largest single invoice, agent not only answered the question, but it also highlighted in additional insight section that this invoice has compliance issue. Her agent not only just relying on dataset, but also on policy document as well as supplement instructions. Has already highlighted that there is a 1 invoice from the Deloitte which has some compliance issue, and same as A. If you can look into this, agent matches the amount and also is checked for compliance issue. Now let me go ahead and ask my next question. Which department has the highest payable spend in 2024? Answer is manufacturing operations as there is the department with the highest AP spent. Now, let me go back to the previous question where we are with this compliance issue. Now, as you can see, invoice 10646 has a compliance issue. Let me ask about the compliance issue. Why invoice number 1064 has a policy exceptions? Answer of this question is no in our dataset, but it is in knowledge documents. This will help us to validate how good agent in analyzing knowledge document and answering question. So, as you can see, the agent responded. It says the policy exception for the invoice number 10646 is CEO approval was bypassed. So, now let me go to the next questions. I will continue with our compliance-related things. My next question is show me count of invoices processed against expired vendor contracts. Here, answer should be based on dataset plus knowledge document plus supplemental instructions. Expired contract compliance is a pain point in every ERP environment. And as per the agent, the count of invoices which are processed against the expired vendor contracts are 35. Processing invoices against the expired contract without a financial director exception approval is a policy violation. So, as you can see, this first line has come from the dataset, and the second line has come from our document, our policy document, as well as the supplemental rules. Now, I want to know more detail about what are the expired vendor contracts. As you see, agent very smartly analyzed the question and dig into the policy documentation, and it says expired vendor contracts refer to the vendor contracts that has expired at the time and in vice versa received and processed. So you can see how well the agent is navigating between data and the documentation. Agent clearly states, as per section 2.4 of policy, no invoices should be processed again expired contract. Now, I want to drill in and like to see what are these invoices which were against the expired contract. So the question is show me the invoice number, invoice amount, contract expired flag for all the invoices processed against the expired contracts. Agent responded with a chart, and it showed me all the invoices which are processed against that expired contract, and it also printed the additional detail about the policies. I just want to see that data in the table form, and I also want to see the contract number and the vendor number in this data. Let me ask a follow-up question and ask agent to show data in table along with contract number and vendor number and see how agent respond to follow-up question. As you can see, our agent has printed invoice number, expired flag, expired contract flag, vendor invoice number, vendor ID, and the amount. As you can see, it listed all the 35 invoices, which was raised against the expired contract. Expired flag equals, yes, clearly indicate that contract was already expired. And it's also printed information from the policy section 2.4 processing invoice against the expired contract without and approval violation. Now I want to count all the invoices where the amount is above 10,000 and pure matches status is no PO, and the data should be come from the financial year 2024. Agent responded the count of invoices with the amount above 10,000 and the pure match state is no PO, R41. Now, I will continue about the fraud and compliance again and say show me all the foreign currency invoices where the Forex approval was not documented. Company with international vendors deal with Forex compliance constantly. So basically I'm drilling more into the compliance and any kind of a fraud. Agent responded with 3 invoices, and it also said a Forex approval must be recorded in the ERP against the invoice record. Forex compliance processing a foreign currency invoice above 25,000 are equivalent, without documentation, has the Forex approval policy violation? Again, with the help of agent, Forex team can ask question in plain English and no dependency on IT team. Now I have another question. The question is, are there any vendor where the vendor bank account change 14 days before the invoice submission? This is a very common business email compromise and one of most common and costly fraud schemes targeting payable departments. We have one invoice which belonged to supplier Vertex Industrial Supply, and there is vendor bank account change. And as per policy, a 30-day payment hold would apply to all the invoices from a vendor whose bank account was changed. So immediately our AI agent looked not only into data elements like bank account change flag, vendor name in our payable dataset, but it also scanned and looked into knowledge document and identify section 2.3 from AP policy about regarding bank account change protocol, as well agent looked into supplemental instructions for account change fraud indicator rule. Now we are almost at the end of demo. And my last question is, are there any duplicate invoices in the system? This is again a compliance test. Though agent not able to identify any duplicate invoices, but it print the policy about duplicate invoices, and duplicate invoice has 0 tolerance. So let me ask this question differently. Now show me the invoices where the duplicate invoice flag is duplicated. And this time question specifically asked with duplicate invoice flag. This time agent detect invoice number INV 10648 as duplicate invoice, and it also show that 10648 is duplicate invoice for 10647. So as you can see, I ask questions about spending anomalies, compliance violation, fraud signal, and policy rules, and how well the system able to respond by combining the data from the dataset, policy document, and supplemental restrictions. That's for today. I hope you like the demo. Thank you.
Bye.